the Mount Pleasant Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting on April 17, 2023 in the Mount Pleasant High School cafeteria. This meeting of the Mount Pleasant Public Schools Board of Education is a meeting conducted in public, but is not a meeting of the public. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. The purpose of today's meeting is to conduct regular business that requires action by the board. These items may include those discussed at the previous meeting or presented to the board for discussion this evening. At this time, please turn off or silence your cell phone and stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to read out Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Statement. Mount Pleasant Public Schools is honored to acknowledge the Anishinaabe people whose traditional land we are gathered on today. To recognize the Anishinaabe people and their ancestral land is our expression of gratitude and appreciation, and a way of honoring the Indigenous people who have been living and working on this land since time immemorial, and whose land on which the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe have resided and have continued to reside on for centuries. We feel it is important to understand the long-standing history of this land and to seek to understand our place within that history.
Jessica Jernigan.
Here.
Katie Reed.
Here.
Melissa Isaac. Tim Whitaker. Here. Dana Calkins. Amy Bond.
Here.
And Lee Kimball.
Here. Thank you. First, we have to have the approval of the agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to make some changes to our meeting agenda? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to our superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone. The first item on my report this evening is our long-awaited first board report from our first ever school nurse. I'd like to introduce you Ms. Deb Yeagley. Deb has done an amazing job and made a huge difference in our district already, so she's got an update on her progress. Deb, thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
My pleasure. I have my sheet notes because this is not my forte. So, of course, I just went to the very end of this here. Let me get it back primed.
So in Deb, our only request would be that you can speak as directly into the microphone as possible so that our recording picks it up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, my name is Deb Yeagley, and I have the privilege of being your new district nurse. A brief background. I graduated from Butterworth Hospital School of Nursing in Grand Rapids, which is now the Spectrum Hospital. And I had the privilege of being hired right away into Munson's Neurotrauma ICU, ICCU. So that was quite an education. I worked there for about 5 years before I then moved to Mount Pleasant and worked at Central Michigan Community Hospital in their emergency department for 10 years. And then went back to the intensive care unit for 5 before going to same-day surgery and the recovery room for another 10. After that, I was hired by Gratiot Isabella RESD as a school nurse. And I spent 14 years working there as a school nurse before getting hired here in February. So I'm married. I have 3 awesome children and 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws and 3 grandchildren that I absolutely love. And so you can take a look at my screen. This is my office. You are all welcome to come and visit me anytime you're at Kenny. Next. I have a window, and the plants have been there for 2.5 months, and they're all still alive. Right. And next. And this is my always messy desk. Next. So my very first official day of work was being introduced to the secretaries at Kenny. And so I did have some time before that to prepare. I did a short overview of medication administration in the school and what is safe, what is legal. And normally medication administration takes about 4 hours minimum, but a whole day to do a training. And And so I just had a couple of hours. I squeezed in medication administration and then seizures for school personnel. And you can see I have a bag that I carry around that has a seizure doll, medications such as Diastat, and then the newer Nasolam and Valtoco, which are intranasal medications that can be given for children 6 years and older. And so, and of course, how to put on gloves and take off gloves, and then handouts like safe seizures, protocols, etc. So that was quite fun. Some of my priorities, I'll expound on these a little bit later, but to keep my skills updated. I love learning. I just finished my Bachelor of Science in Nursing during COVID. I've been trying to do this since I graduated from Butterworth, but family emergencies always arose, so I was the oldest person in my class, always, and I graduated from Paris. So, to respond to emergencies and urgencies in your schools, to update all medical forms to current standard of care, to assess students with current needs and develop emergency action plans and individualized healthcare plans for things like toileting in general education, fainting, tube feedings, clean intermittent catheterizations, diabetes, seizures, asthma, anaphylaxis, all of those kind of things. I would love to initiate personal care service authorizations. That's Medicaid billing, C4S, or caring for students. I did that for special education students. I need to learn what is necessary to do that for your general education students. So I'm not there yet. I have not begun that process. I want to update merge paperwork. I did do a 7-hour training for medical emergency response teams in the schools. And so there's a bunch of new stuff there. You have a great team already doing that, so I can input some of that paperwork to them, and some trainings. Increase the pool of staff that are trained to perform the health procedures and respond to emergencies. I'm one person for your entire district. And so I also am a .8 scheduled. I generally will have 1 day off a week, so I'm not always here. Although I do have a tendency to answer my phone on my days off, just in case. So the staff need to know, how do we handle emergencies in the school? And I've only been here 2.5 months, and I have to tell you, we've had a few, quite a few. I've made some trips. I just did my mileage form today for the first time. I needed to do it monthly, I know, but a few trips to the emergency room with both with staff and students. So it's been an interesting thing. What do we do for paperwork? So not only do I need to increase the pool of staff that are trained to perform these procedures, but increasing the standard of care by training everybody on how to do that emergency care, and then documentation. Documentation, in nursing school you're taught, if you didn't write it, you didn't do it. If it isn't written, it isn't done. And as a nurse, I can sign my name, just one person's name, to that paperwork, still even in the school system. But in the school system, unlicensed assisted personnel, UAPs, it requires 2 signatures. If it isn't written and signed by 2 people, it isn't done. So again, another legal standard that we have to teach to. And I think I just talked a little bit about some of the continuing education that I've been able to do and will be doing. I did the 7-hour MERT training, seizures for school personnel. I update that yearly because things change. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, seizure terminology was completely different than the terminology that they're using today. And they also, at the Epilepsy Foundation, have, and these modules are free for anyone to use, PNES, which is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, that we are seeing more and more frequently due to PTSD and trauma. So they are handled completely differently, but there is and needs to be a protocol. And so even just developing, wouldn't it be great to have a form that's a seizure action plan for PNES that goes to the psychiatrist for the cognitive behavioral therapy that we need? What are the same words that are used at home that we can use to keep people in a safe feeling in the school? So that, I just started tweaking a form to make a doctor's order form for a seizure action plan for PNES, which will be completely different than the one that we use for epilepsy seizures. I get to go to a Masson conference May 11th and 12th in Detroit. That's Michigan Association of School Nurses. They are a wealth of knowledge and experience. And then they are having a Caring for Students Medicaid online training in June that I also will take. How do I increase the standard of care? And you've heard me say it already, training, 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 and then obtaining training supplies to make that training more effective. The most effective training, of course, is hands-on training. So I wrote a grant asking for $20,000 to allow the new district nurse to provide equipment and training to enhance the health, safety, and well-being of the Mount Pleasant students and staff. More and more students in the school system have medical conditions and require medications as well as medical procedures, and we need to be able to train to that. It's also not uncommon for these students to need medical care not only in the building, but on the buses and to and from games, etc., so athletic events, etc. The grant would be used to purchase equipment for that. A toolkit for medication administration training in the school, a Nikki mannequin, and a mobile workstation, which there are pictures of coming up. I'm sorry, next and next. I'm so sorry. So this is the Stanley FatNext mobile workstation. I would love to have those in every office that would store your life back, which is a portable suction device for removing, before the child is, or an adult is choking, a stop the bleed kit, AED, all student paperwork, their emergency action plans, all relief medication that we might need, such as glucose. If you can imagine if we had another BERT where we had to leave, this would have everything in it that we would need, as well as the glucose and anything in case we needed to keep children for an extended period of time. I would like to be able to have something easily transportable with everything that we need for 24 hours of care. Also, I would like to have one for coaches to take to games with an AED on board. I did call Coach, and he said that he has, the athletic trainer has one AED that she takes to one of the high school games. But wouldn't it be great to have a mobile workstation with an AED, a life back, stop the bleed kit, and all of the emergency action plans that we might need for all of the, at least 2 high school games and 2 middle school games, both away and home. Okay. Next. And so we just kind of talked about this, the different things, as well as the documentation. That's a big deal, is that everything that happens, including like a concussion, the concussion checklist that you would go through. So here's a picture of the Nikki mannequin. And Nikki mannequin has a tracheostomy, it has a ureterostomy, it has the tube feeding gastrostomy. So it has a whole bunch of things that we can use. It's got a little IV. Not everything would we need in the school, but let me tell you, last year at the Michigan Association of School Nurses Conference, there was a mother who spoke. She was a registered nurse. She delivered her baby at 20 weeks. This is becoming more and more common as we have more and more technology and medical advances. Her little girl had to be on a ventilator in general education until 8th grade, at which time she was able to use the ventilator. That was a headache for mom to try to figure out how was she going to have somebody caring for her student. So again, we're just seeing more and more of that in the school as we continue. And then the life back. It sounds, a lot of you nodded your head with the life back. Anybody have any questions on anything so far? Okay. Life back. There's a growing body of evidence that the life back, a portable non-electric anti-choking device, is 99 to 100% effective when used after the Heimlich. And the nice thing about this, Heimlichs are very difficult to do in a wheelchair. It's very difficult to do on yourself. And so the life back you can use on yourself. Many people have have all of you seen the life back? You know, would anyone like to see one? So the reason I'm passionate about life back is Beverly McCormick has been given me permission and partners with me. Beverly McCormick lost her son Jeremy after performing the Heimlich maneuver. The Heimlich maneuver is effective in studies 70 to 86% of the time. That means at best case scenario, 14% of the time it's not effective. Beverly experienced that, and she is now passionate about getting life back in the school, and she talked to Matt Walterzak, and you guys have them in every office because of Beverly. Beverly and I also put them in, got them and educated the MMI, and so they have them now. And Gratiot Isabella RISD has one in every classroom. I would like 30 more life hacks to use since some people would like to see them. I'll just start passing one around, and there's a little trainer that you can just kind of. So most people have a misconception that a life hack, when you push down, it's like a plunger, so you're going to push something back in, but actually it has a one-way valve, so the air goes in the air, ambient air of the room, and when it goes back in the other way, you are pulling out. So the only thing that's happening then is you are bringing out the air. Okay, so I'll just pass this around, and you can do this on the desk, like so. You see?
Right.
Okay, and so you can see how easy that would be to do to yourself. I have people, friends who do have choking and are able to do that on themselves. And there was a study done without any training on different anti-choking devices, and this still seemed to be the most effective. So I'd like 30 more of these to use for your students that are at higher risk for choking in the cafeteria, and also those at higher risk for choking in some of the classrooms, such as those kids with cognitive impairment. And then 20 of these life hacks to be assigned to your buses where students are still snapping. Speaking of the buses, Robin and I were able to train 17 of bus personnel for emergencies on the bus. That training was about an hour and a half. And so for seizures, what do they do when there's one bus driver for a whole bus load of children? The unconscious student. They had hands-on training on how to put somebody in the recovery position, asthma, inhalers, and then of course EpiPens, because some kids carry them, so the hands-on EpiPen training, okay? I would love 4 additional AEDs to go in those kits that the coaches take to games, and then you see later on Little Annie QCPR 4-packs that you have currently own 4 of those, which is a pack. I'd like 2 more packs to total 12. You can put 2 people on a training pack and 2 people on one, so that means I could train effectively hands-on 24 people. The nice thing, if you can look at that picture, you can see that little square there to the side. Has anybody trained on these? Oh, aren't they awesome? You can see your compressions with the arrow going up and down. You can see compressions when they're in the green zone. That means you are compressing adequately and you're saving a life. If you're in the yellow or red zone, you're not doing very well. And you get a percentage. And there are some of us who are very competitive. So, getting 100% means, And then right next to it is a set of lungs. And those lungs will light up with green also every time you give a breath, or they won't. So then you'll know that your breath is not affected. So it again is hands-on, immediate training, and everybody that takes these trainings, which take about 3 to 3.5 hours, say, boy, I now would stop and do CPR on somebody and feel like I know what I'm doing. How do I feel I can assist with emergencies and urgencies even when I'm not there? Creating things like a medical incident report, diabetes intervention documentation, and then a concussion assessment plan or packet. So you guys actually have this wonderful information that is, next, and then there it is. This wonderful first page of the concussion injury. It's all the information that you need, but it doesn't document what we did to intervene. So a second page I added in making the concussion protocol that has how to use this packet. The third page is from the CDC, and as you can see, it has a 0-minute check to do a concussion check, 15 minutes and 30 minutes. And then the first and second page can immediately go home with parent that day if the child is able to stay in school. We would keep these pages and make a copy for the parent. If EMS is called or they have to be taken to the emergency room, then copies of everything would then go with the parent so that both EMS, the medical institution, and the parent would know what those first checks look like. Next. There we go. That is the medical incident report. And really it's just an area for us to chart what happened, describe the intervention that we took as a school, and then what was the disposition of the student or staff member. And we have used it on students, and we have used it on staff to date, so. And these would then be put in our files, some kind of a file that we can track. It's very important to know if somebody's having fainting episodes, what did it look like, how often is this happening, and how is it handled, how did we intervene, and what is the doctor saying? And we've had, one doctor actually said, yes, do this, and please, can you do, because we were able to get a blood pressure, I have an O2 sat monitor, and so that's another thing that I put down on that grant is, you know, some extra medical things for school offices. I think every office should have a blood pressure cuff, an oxygen saturation monitor, training. People need to be trained in how to use these, but it's so nice when somebody's sitting there and they're feeling faint, and you see that their heart rate waveform is regular, and you have an oxygen saturation of 100, as opposed to other things. So, but you do have to have some training in order to read these. So unlicensed assisted personnel need training, need to know when it's valid, etc. So that's the medical incident report. We found this wonderful coupon. There were some people that are on certain medication that want to go to the new nasal medication for seizures. And this can cost hundreds of dollars even with insurance. And this is a coupon that we were able to find, get into the family's hands, and actually have them be able to get it for around $20. And this is a HIPAA form that that secretary used to be able to fax that form after the parent filled it out to the doctor. So these are just some of the forms that I've developed since I've been here. Here's your Mount Pleasant permission for school medication. It's on one page instead of 3, and it has area for 2 medications to be written with the physician's signature, his printed name, and the parent guardian signature, and then the agreement in the fine print there. Diabetes monitoring log next, and then next again. The new medication log, which will go next to the second page, which has, the secretary mentioned to me that she needed, parents drop off medicines quite frequently, and so we just needed a big column so that we could keep track of all of that, kind of those transactions. And again, the last form here is the C4S Medicaid billing. I've used this for 14 years and developed it for Rashid Isabella RSD. But I need more training to do that here for the gen ed population. And last, that's it. There's so much more that I probably can't include in one little thing, but healthy children learn better when you have school nurses working with you. So, any questions?
Thanks for the report, and we're excited you're here. I did have a couple of questions. Could you just give us a little more information when you're talking about the personal care service authorizations? Can you expound on that just slightly, what you mean there?
Yes. So kids that come to the school that have, so you and I may take for granted that I can get my dinner tray in both arms, I can hold it and carry it to my table, but perhaps somebody has cerebral palsy or has some kind of a medical condition that makes it hard for them to do their activities of daily living independently while they're in the school. It can be something minor, or it can be something quite severe. And so when you need another person to come in and assist that student to be able to make it through the school day, then you can actually, if they're Medicaid eligible, bill that through Medicaid under the C4S. I know that right now that's being used for social workers and psych and counseling, but when it was originally written, it was also to include school nurses to help with billing. Down in Wayne County, the Michigan Association of School Nurses have talked about how they've been doing gen ed billing for things like medication. The secretary's giving medication in the office, and so that is billable. The student is in our care, and we are giving medication in the school system. And it's also a form of documentation of what we're doing. And so, did that answer your question?
It did, thank you. And then, where does parent permission come in with this?
Oh, always. Parent permission has to be given yearly in all of this. This is not anything that is done without parent permission. Notification, and there is a parent, you actually already have a parent consent form that is intertwined with your IEPs for special ed. But again, like I said before, I need to do further education on how this plays out in general education. But yes, you would have a yearly notification, a sit-down, and there would be an individualized healthcare plan, and then parent would sign permission or not permission, denial.
Okay. So currently, is this just happening with special ed students that they are getting services through you, or is this also with, you mentioned staff, and is it with general ed students as well?
Currently, it's not with general education in Mount Pleasant, but in about, I think it was 2017 or 18 when the law changed, and schools such as Livonia, Wayne County, they all started doing this, offering, well, they're already offering this service. We're already doing the work, but then charting it, double signing, and billing for it. And they're billing for it through, I'm not sure, in our area, I know it's PCG, but there are other programs out there that help with the billing.
Wonderful. And I think this is just really helpful information. When you're, can you just maybe explain, I'm just thinking of questions parents might be, I'm trying to be a spokesperson here in case they have these questions. When you're training people that aren't necessarily in the medical field, what does that look like, the vetting process there? I mean, I know you're coming in and doing trainings before they can do that. Again, is that being communicated with parents that it could be not just you, but other
Parents
staff?
are already, if there's a student in the school that needs care, those students are already getting that care. And so I'm here now, and when I get involved with that, then that care will be what I am propagating. So it's through Michigan Association or latest best standard of care. For instance, tube feedings. How do I educate staff on tube feedings when there isn't a tube feeding PowerPoint out there? So I got the latest standard of care from the gastroenterology online journal. I was at Ferris at the time, so I had a free subscription. And I used that to create a PowerPoint of the latest best standard of care, or the gold standard of care. And that's what we train to, is how do we take care of a tube feeding in the school? It's what is the latest standard of care? How do we do any kind of personal care in the school? It's, and how do we vet? You guys already vet your paraprofessionals and your teachers. It's the training that, what I find is education. Most people are going to say to me, health, I went into education to be a teacher or a paraprofessional in the school, not a healthcare worker. And there's a lot of fear involved. But when you do a training to the standard of care that Michigan Association of School Nurses propose, by the end of the training, those people that were reticent and did not want to do anything regarding healthcare, more hands come up. More people are willing to do that. So.
Thanks for all your hard work.
And when I do the training, if there's real hands-on stuff, then I am participating in that. First of all, I do it, and I so people see it, then they say it, and then they do it after me. Yes?
I just want to clarify something based on Katie's question. The people you are training are already staff, right? Which means they have already passed a background check, they have already been hired by Mount Pleasant Public Schools. So that is the vetting process.
Right, and Michigan law allows me to train people and delegate, or just train even as a consultative nurse, only to those people who the principals of the building designate. So the principal designates a pool of staff, and then I come in and train that pool of staff, and then I pick out who I feel I can delegate to within that pool of staff.
So that's
And you have great staff, so.
and that's an additional 2 layers of vetting.
That's great. Thank you
2
very
people,
much.
correct.
Thank you.
Very good questions, thank you.
Tim, go ahead.
I have a question. So you offered a lot of equipment. Were all those pieces in the grant that you requested, or are you going to need more funds to help achieve these goals?
Oh, everything that I talked about was part of the grant that I asked for. So I have my own bag full of my personal equipment that goes with me everywhere because I'm one of those lucky people that everywhere I go, somebody seems to fall down and use it. Those are the things that I would like to get for the school.
The other thing is, be thinking through, it sounds like every year you have to replenish, and so making some kind of budgeting process for that. You know, the Band-Aids or
Right.
all of these things that I already know we're going through, and that probably already is facing much.
And those are things that your schools are already purchasing. Nobody's asking me for Band-Aids and things like that. So what I think things like, right after the grant writing, unfortunately, we found out that we need to look at our AEDs. And so we're looking at our AEDs right now. And Michigan Association of School Nurses has a contact at Beaumont. And in the MERT training, they gave her contact to everybody. And you can bet all of us school nurses immediately pounced on her. And so she has only responded to me twice. I did get an email from her today asking me how many of our AEDs are outdated and do we have, anyway, she's kind of getting our stance of where we're at and how she might be able to help. I'm hopeful that she's able to help, but yes, I do believe there will need to be a budget, and I hope to learn more how to assist you guys to fund this position for whoever gets it in the future, right? We want to keep not only me, but wouldn't it be great to have more than one district school nurse position eventually, so that you have more hands-on in each individual school.
And it even sounds like by technology, there's a life to some of these things that we need to have built in, so we can project those roles.
Right.
Like AEDs, right? They only
Right.
they're only
10 years,
certified.
right? That's what they say is about 10 years, and ours have been from 2006.
Yeah.
So, and they still are usable. So we're going to see what the best thing is that we can do with some consultation from a nurse practitioner at Beaumont that heads, I can't remember what it's called, Heart Smart for Schools. So we'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had very similar questions on equipment. If, hopefully, unlikely, if your grant doesn't come through, and so then I'm going to turn to Ginger, is can we afford this equipment? Because it sounds like that's things we need anyways. And I don't know how our budget works for medical supplies. And then, as you said, like discoveries after, even if the grant does come through, there's things that are going to keep rolling out as you figure out what we have. Ginger, can you say anything about what we can afford this on?
Yes. Currently, this type of stuff is not available to our general fund, but we are fortunate that right now we have a lot of grant funding. So I think there's definitely options and possibilities out there for grant funding, but right now we don't have it built in the general fund for the ongoing and the grant. Definitely something that's on our radar.
That'd be great so that we can keep that in mind. And it sounds like you're really streamlining the processes, even for our staff, which is wonderful. And so I love seeing another checklist for concussions or some of the things that, we know happen. So big thank you for all the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I enjoy it. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our administrative team from Mount Pleasant High School with their monthly update. Thank you all for joining us this evening. If they look extra tired, it's because they're knee-deep in testing.
First thing.
There you go.
Hello. And a ton of our testers are here tonight. And I didn't even plan that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start to talk about is testing. We kind of wrapped up today with the SAT and the work keys. Tomorrow we have, I think, one accommodated section still finishing up, but then tomorrow we start step. So it's another round of testing for our juniors. Okay, so our points of pride for this year is a little different. We thought we had much better communication, so we were excited about that. We tested over 4 days this time instead of doing in the past few years. We've been doing what we call a test. We just thought a little easier on us. We don't have to the logistics of rearranging the whole school, so we decided we were going to try that. Not all the teachers had to be involved,
so that was a little bit better. We just tested in the gym was all of our gen ed, and then the teal pod upstairs was all of our accommodated. So our accommodated teachers were up there with those kids, and then the gen ed was all in the gym. I don't know, we're gonna have to decide if we liked it or not. We did that way back when, 3 days and whatever, but a lot of work for a long amount of time, so I don't know, we'll see if we like that. Tomorrow the M-Step starts, kind of talk about that. Just real quick, SAT, we tested 215 gen ed testers and 25 accommodated. We did 211 work keys, that would be juniors also, in the gym, 25 accommodated, 211 PSAT 9, and I just want to give a shout out publicly to the 9th graders. They were by far the best. They were so outstanding, and I was nervous about the 9th graders. They're just young, swirly, a little immature. They were fantastic, fantastic. Okay, 204 today with my sophomores in the gym, and then we had 27 accommodated. April 25th is a Tuesday, and that's when I will take, I think it's 22, 23 that we have to make up the SAT. Okay, and then the next day, which is Wednesday, the 26th, the PSAT 9 and 10 will be on makeup. And then the next day, the 27th, would be the makeup for work keys. So, in a nutshell, that's our testing, and we're excited. It's all shipped out. Everything that has been tested is shipped out except for the rooms for tomorrow. And then just focus for next year, we always want to get better. So data collection, maybe training for the staff, what do we do with these numbers? Communication with parents. The kids know about Khan Academy. I'm not so sure that all parents know what they can do with that and what it can help their kids with. Maybe teaching the parents what these scores actually mean. I told the juniors, just my own personal story, 2017 was the first year that Michigan went to an SAT state. It used to always be ACT. And so my daughter was that year. Well, she was a junior that year, anyway. So when they calculated the scores, CMU said, oh, we're gonna take the score, and she got a whole bunch more money because they didn't know what score was good for a scholarship. So I'm like, these kids really should look into it and see that these scores really can benefit them, get a lot of money. Again, teaching the parents all about that, and then sharing the scholarship potentials or possibilities with these tests. Questions on testing?
I do. I don't know what work keys are.
Work keys is, so it's not the ACT, but it's ACT work keys, and it's kind of like a work-based test. I know, like at my husband's job in Dowfield, they want people to have that test and other fields. So if you don't take it in high school, there is a chance you would have to take it on the job. It's kind of a make you feel good test.
Well, but it's also employment.
Yes.
That's what I'm.
Rather than,
Skills.
yes, it's about work skills.
I think what aren't the subjects, reading for information, everyday math, I mean, so it's those functional skills that you need for students that are interested in going directly into the world of work.
And so we don't have a student that takes both SAT and work keys? Or do we?
We do. Yeah, so the juniors, it's their big year. It's not like we want to scare them, but it's real. So freshmen, it's PSAT 9 practice. Sophomores, PSAT 10 practice. And they get these scores and they kind of learn how to like work the timing and just get more comfortable with the test. But then the real junior year is the SAT, and then work keys, and then M-Step. So it's the whole MME package.
And all of those, and I know MSET we have to do for state. And same for the SAT, that it's mandated.
Yep.
And same for the PSAT. Okay.
Yeah, they all
And
have
same
to
for
take.
work keys.
And work keys
It's
too.
all required.
Okay. Yeah. You just
So when I tell you guys that 215 took it, that's good. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm gonna hunt them down next Tuesday, and we gotta have them all test. So 215 is pretty good.
thank you. That helps.
Yeah, any other questions?
I get to do the fun part again. It's kind of my honor students, but I do want to give a shout out to our testing people, our leadership that are helping with the testing. I mean, there is not a principal in the world that says, hey, I'm so excited, it's testing time, you know? It is just a disruptance, it's a pain for every single one. And we have a group that not only are efficient, they take care of all of our accommodating kids, they think outside the box, they do all of the things that continually try to make an awful situation even better. And like I said, I'm so proud of them because they have done a great job. It was seamless. Kids got where they needed to be. Teachers knew where they had to be. Everybody was where it is. I mean, just setting up chairs and tables and all of that. And so, I mean, they came up with good plans for that. It was unbelievable this year. Like I said, I'm so proud of our whole group and so on.
I have one more question. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to like map out what that looks like. And so, do we have to do it all in the 3 or 4 days, or do we do that because it is such a disruption? So it's mandated that it happens.
So the whole state of Michigan took the SAT on Wednesday, the 12th. And the PSAT, they give us 2 days. And then the 25th is the makeup for all SAT in Michigan. So we're very kind of told what to do. Right?
So there's not a whole lot of room for spacing out or any of that stuff, right?
Like I said, then you throw in MSTEP, AP testing, all these other things that all have timelines too, and so we're pretty limited, but they do a great job. So. You can see we have 2 athletes of the month, AJ and Ava. Like I said, just once again, outstanding, not only athletes, but scholars too. So, the next one, you can see our 8 students of the month, for, like I said, 2 for each grade that we give out each time, and so it's been wonderful to continually honor in a school our size. We could probably honor 32 every month, and maybe we will go with that sometime, but like I said, there's so many deserving kids. And then the last ones are Rotary kids that got, like I said, nominated today, and Archita and Eric are 2 wonderful ones. Like I said, Archita is a National Merit Scholar too, and so she's going to get some money here. Group,
so this is kind of a draft in progress, so you're the first people to see it, but we are working really hard on summer school right now. We're trying to target kids who either need to make up some credit or just would like to maybe get ahead in the summer just to ease their mind. And then Ms. Boyd and I are working really hard to kind of make sure elementary are on the same pace as much as possible so we could see if our kids have some transportation needs. And so this is hopefully going to come out sometime this week, but we have all of our people who are going to work summer school set, and we're excited to move ahead with that shortly. Our next piece is just our flyer. You'll see it in the touchstone and on our social media pages. There's also a QR code to make it easier, and then we do have the paper copy as well for families. We will utilize the Chromebooks over the summer as well for the Odyssey Wear piece. And then the last thing, I think I'm presenting, but Mr. Wardress over in the counseling office, him and I and one of the co-ops have been working on our Senior Honors Award Assembly. So what you see up there with Jackson Connors is what our co-op is working on right now, and every senior will have a photo with future plans, awards, and scholarships earned at the Senior Award Ceremony. And then we, post-COVID, are really working on backtracking what they earned as a freshman, sophomore, and junior with their pins and their letters and so on, just because it was a couple weird years through that time period. So our seniors will be, I believe, we're doing it all on May 31st. 12th grade at 7 o'clock, and then we'll have 9th through 11th grade. Parents are welcome to attend the 9th through 11th as well. So we want to get parents back in the auditorium and see those awards.
Then to finish up our year, which is coming so quickly, I feel like, next Saturday starts our fun stuff, Oscars. Will be here in the auditorium. It is 7 to 10 p.m. May 5th, we have the career fair from the Tech Center. May 8th through the 12th, we're actually going to celebrate our teachers that week. We have the powwow coming up. It's for all of our 10th graders, May 9th and May 10th. Prom, May 13th. That is 7 to midnight. I think we're opening the doors 5:30 for them to come in, take pictures. 6:30, sit down, eat. maybe 6. And that doesn't matter, and then 7 dancing, and then we go to Riverwood, where they can bowl and get pizza and snacks and just kind of stay together with us. The 19th is Fun Day. That is Miss Wish and her classes kind of put on a lunch and just kind of a fun day. Usually we get the yearbooks that day and kids are outside if the weather's nice and just something different. Farewell tour. I think this is our 3rd or 4th year of doing this, so we're excited to do that again. The seniors will board the buses and go to every single elementary school. I know, so cute. Seriously, I've gotten to go 2 times and I've cried both times. It's just so cute. Everybody loves it. Seniors' last day is going to be May 26th. Their ice cream social, which you guys are all invited to come and pass that out if you wish. That's that day also. The 31st, like Kristen just talked about, is our senior honors evening. June 1st, I believe it's a Thursday, is our graduation rehearsal here at the school in the gym. And then the 4th is our final event with our seniors. So, and that's 1:30 at McGurk. So, that is all we have.
Does anyone have any questions for John, Lisa, or Kristen?
I do have some question about the summer school stuff. So is that open to everyone, or are we first targeting students that need it the most, or can you walk me a little bit?
Sure. I'm new to the planning for summer school, but we worked with some funding with Stephanie Binder. We have plenty of spots open, and I believe we have 8 teachers available. I think last year when I looked at numbers, we were about at 100 in June, and then July I think it dipped to about 80. So if we had that amount or more, we could definitely take care of it. I'll do personal letters to kids that our counselors have provided me that are behind a little bit and need to get back up to where they need to be. So I will hand out personal letters and try to do meetings with those kids, but it's open to everyone. Yeah, for sure.
The program itself is credit recovery based.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be for someone that wanted to accelerate their learning? It's
Correct.
more for those
Yeah.
students that are behind, and
Yeah.
this gives them an opportunity to earn additional credits to keep up with their
Thank you.
class.
Thank you for saying that, yes. I'm learning too.
Have we ever thought about doing both? I mean,
Sorry, I'll comment a little bit. I think it's a different program, and I think what our counselors will tell you, and as a teacher who taught 9th grade, I would like you to sit face-to-face as much as possible. That does not work, and we need an alternative plan. We'll go there next. But I think just having those discussions in class or a hands-on lab, I know applied physics is not great in Odyssey Ware, so I think it's a great alternative if we need it for recovery, like Jen said, but I really do think it's most beneficial with teachers in the classroom. So that's my opinion.
And I feel like in our community also, those students that are looking for those academic extensions are doing that through, you know, the universities and programs that we have in our community and other options like that. So it's more of that maybe hands-on experiential learning that they can do differently during the summer. We do have the CTE camp that targets middle school students. That's sort of an extension, but that kind of student I think is looking for a different kind of opportunity than what we can provide here.
oh, that makes sense, but I know that that's a question that comes to us commonly, and so thank you for that.
Thank you all very much. The last item under my report is just a bond projects update. And I know that you wouldn't believe it by walking outside today, but spring is here. And so you may have noticed that we have started some digging in some of our locations. So again, I just wanted to take a minute and go through and highlight all the work that is being planned for completion this summer. First and foremost, at Fancher, if you drive by, you'll notice they've started moving some earth. We are doing an addition onto our cafeteria at Fancher, so we'll be able to increase the capacity in the cafeteria for students to eat lunch at the same time. We're also working on engineering and air handling replacement at Fancher. Depending on what they find when they get in there, it may be a multi-year project, but with the ultimate goal that Fancher will be air conditioned. Our second big site, I should say, They're also finishing the roof at Fancher. There's a section of the roof that is slate, and in order to keep the integrity and appearance of the building, we needed to wait from last summer, so they'll finish that slate portion of the roof up this summer. Mount Pleasant Middle School is probably where we'll have our most activity. They've already started again moving some earth there. First and foremost, we will have a cafeteria remodel and expansion. So the stage area that's in the cafeteria now will be going away. That area will be increased seating, and the food lines will come out a little bit into the cafeteria to really showcase what we have and give students a little bit more space for more options. We're also doing a main office remodeling at at the middle school. When we did the secure entrance vestibule, that was the only thing that we added, just that secure entrance. We didn't make any changes to the main office. So we will be remodeling the main office. There's a large addition going on to the back side of the building where we'll be adding a weight room and office space for ancillary staff members. So you'll see that it's sort of on that'd be the southwest side of the building. And then one of the things that I'm most excited about at Mount Pleasant Middle School, they are completely revising the pickup and drop-off area. So I know several of you are middle school parents, so you're probably excited about that as well. So we'll be using the loop on Transportation Drive, doing a larger loop to come through with 2 lanes going in the same direction. So it should really help with the flow. And that's been nice to work with our engineers and our architects to really do a traffic flow study so they understand how many cars we can get through and how we can be as safe as possible there. Finally, at the middle school, they are also working on engineering for the air handling system. They'll begin that replacement again, but we're sort of under the same circumstance as Fancher. They'll get as much done as possible this summer with the ultimate goal of having air conditioning. I just don't want to overpromise air conditioning for either of those buildings because we're not sure that that'll all be in place by the fall. Finally, here in this building, Mount Pleasant High School, they are doing work in the Performing Arts Center. They're doing upgrades to lighting, and we're getting a new stage curtain. They're doing a weight room addition back off of the gyms, and we're replacing the track at Community Memorial Stadium. So those are the big projects that are happening this summer. You will probably see lots of things starting to happen and lots of work getting going, with obviously the majority of work happening after our last day of school. So, anybody have any questions about our bond projects? And I'll just remind everybody that this is just one small slice of multi-year projects that span, started last summer and span over the next 8 years. So we're excited about the work, and hopefully we'll get to show you lots of progress on it this summer. So that's all I have for this
Thank you,
evening.
Jennifer. That's super exciting to hear all the updates. Next, we have our requested financial reports.
Good evening. I have for you tonight the financial reports for general fund and special service funds, comparing revenue and expenditure budget to actual for the years 2022 and 2022. This is for month ending March. For general fund, revenue is at 56% of budget this year compared to 56% last year, and expenditures are at 56% of budget compared to 60% last year. For special service funds, athletics is at 30% of budget this year compared to 67% last year, and expenditures are at 56% this year compared to 40% last year. For our Children's Learning Center, revenue is at 72% of budget this year compared to 140% last year. There was some grants that we received and we hadn't been able to budget for them yet. And expenditures are at 48% of budget compared to 75% last year. For our nurse testing program, again, this was something in the tech side of things. We no longer have this program. We have the fund balance we're spending down. If there's no revenue, there will no longer be revenue. For expenditures, there's 2% of budget this year compared to 0% last year. For our food service program, we're at 45% of budget this year compared to 98% for revenue last year, and 59% of budget this year compared to 83% last year. Some of that is a budgeting issue, some of it is a timing issue. This only includes February reimbursements, not March. We haven't received that yet. Also, a lot of it is due to the uniqueness of our food service program in the last couple of years with COVID. Being able, luckily last year, to have free breakfast, free breakfast, but free lunch also And the reimbursement rates were much different last year. This year, they made us go back to having to pay a charge, and the reimbursement rates are different. So we're not going to be able to have an apples-to-apple food service comparison this whole year. School store revenue is at 58% of budget this year compared to 58% last year, and expenditures are at 69% of budget compared to 42% last year. Moving on to our treasurer's report for general fund on March, we had a beginning cash balance on February 28th of $10.5 million. We had receipts in the month of March of $6.6 million and disbursements of $5.5 million. That brings us a balance on March 31st of $11.6 million. This number does look higher than typical. That's because we're building up at this point. Remember, we do not receive state aid payments for 12 months out of the year. We only receive them for 11 months out of the year. So the revenue kind of builds up, but then we do not receive a payment in September, sorry. And then obviously our expenditures are much higher than our revenue, so it all plays out throughout the year. For debt retirement fund, on February 28th, we had a balance of $3 million. We had tax revenue come in at $215,000, no disbursements for the month of March. So that brings us a balance on March 31st of $3.2 million. That builds up throughout the year. I do have the bill sitting on my desk now for the next principal and interest payment. That will bring that all the way back down, close to zero. And then as our tax revenue comes in, it starts building back up for those payments next year. And for our capital projects fund on February 28th, we had a cash balance of $24 million. We had interest income for the month of March of almost $90,000, disbursements of close to $2 million. That brings us a balance on March 31st of $22.9 million.
Thank you, Ginger. Next, we have correspondence, and we received a letter from Zantec, which brings us to our citizens' request to address the board on any agenda or non-agenda item for those that signed the form. And our first person on the form is Rowan Frost.
Hi, I'm Rowan Frost. To start off, testing this year was so organized and everything went so smoothly, like night and day compared to last year with you just go in and everything is figured out and there's no questions or mysteries where to go. Although I do miss some of the chaos of test times. There's nothing quite like getting out of class and not knowing where to go or what anybody's doing. And then I know that we had a school district nurse, but I'm so glad to hear that, especially where she's prioritizing training and educating staff members. I think that can go such a long way, and I'm very excited for it. I know one time I was having a health emergency and I wasn't helped very much, and I'm just so glad that there will be more information out there. And the possibility of informing students slightly about it, or trying to integrate more basic healthcare knowledge into things like reminders of how to do the Heimlich. Going back to the testing thing, the only complaint I had is maybe a reminder because testing just came in so fast after spring break, and I think that everybody was so surprised to hear it, and I think that many people felt unprepared because of that. And then with the whole summer school sort of thing, I see that same interest for accelerated students wanting to get credits. And I know if there would have been a situation where I could take an Odyssey where I think for some classes it could apply, ones where it's not building into other ones, like world history hasn't really affected other classes at all. And if I would have been able to take that going into high school, that would have helped free my schedule up a little bit. And for me, I would have liked to hear about that in middle school, because just coming into high school, already having completed a class would have felt fantastic. But thank you so much, and I'm so glad to hear what the school board's been doing recently.
Thank you, Rowan. Next, we have Addison Art.
Hi, my name name is Addison Arns, and I'll be talking about 2 different topics today. But to start off, I was here last year to talk about open campus lunches, and I know that's a really hard thing to kind of like figure out, and it's definitely a hard topic to succeed on. But I would really like it to be considered, especially like with the end of the school year being right around the corner, considering it going into next year. Especially because I know that the punishment for leaving during lunch is in-school suspension, and I know a lot of people that do leave during lunch either way, whether they're allowed to or not. And the people that are being punished are good students who get good grades, who are student athletes, who are being punished for just wanting more options and like their own personal choice. Especially with having a lot of different fast food restaurants like right around the corners around our school that aren't very far distance at all. It would definitely be a lot more helpful, in my opinion, and I know a lot of students agree with me on that also. And then the second topic I'd like to talk about today is adding a smoothie bar where the coffee shop is. I'm not suggesting like taking away the coffee bar, but maybe just like switching it up a couple days a week, like maybe on like Fridays or something, or like Wednesdays, just like throwing in like a little extra treat for different students to have more variety on different days. Or like maybe we do coffee in the morning, and then since I know the coffee bar isn't open at lunch because I walk past it every day, maybe like having like smoothies for lunch or something with like an additional treat with our school lunches already. Thank you.
Thanks, Edison. Next, we have LED people.
Hi, I'm Ali Delion, and I'd like to thank you guys for providing more variety and healthier options in our lunch choices. As a student, it can be really hard to eat a lunch that's healthy and have foods that I enjoy every day. And with the variety you guys have provided, it definitely allows me and many other students to keep ourselves healthy and happy. However, having healthier options, I feel we need to keep the earth healthy as well. And I think we could find some more sustainable ways to serve the food because, as an example, the foam trays cause a lot of pollution and could easily be traded for a sustainable option, such as like the plastic lunch trays. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Next, we have Lincoln Bone.
Hi, I'm Lincoln, sophomore here. I just want to say thanks for the new weight room that's going to be put in the summer. The one we have, it's decent, but it's just really outdated. Not really up to the standard of other schools. I really hope the next one's going to be really nice. I think that'll really help boost athletics and just give students a good gym to go to after school and help get fit. Thank you.
Thanks, Lincoln. And then last, we have Thomas. And I'm sorry, I can't read the country. I know I butchered all the last names. I'm really sorry.
Hi, my name's Thomas. I'm a sophomore here. I just want to thank you guys for keeping everyone safe again. PCDs did go very well like that. Another thing is, I like the lunches. There are more options now. Like there's more drinks, there's more bars, like the Cocoa Puff bars, the pretzels, the Bosco sticks. Very good, very good. I like that. Just want to thank you guys for that too. Yeah.
Thomas. That concludes our citizen request to address the board. Which moves us to our consent agenda. The first thing on our consent agenda is the approval of minutes from April 11, 2023, our special meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. We also have approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the bills in the sum of $1,618,910.83?
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And Amy, thank you for making me write that down. That was a lot smoother than trying to read it out. We have a number of things under new business, starting with the SFE contract renewal for 2023-2024.
Yeah, I'll I'll take this one. When we go out for bid for a food service company, they award us a 1-year bid, but we do have the option to have 4 additional 1-year renewals. Next year, the 23-24 school year, will be the 4th 1-year renewal. So next year, we will be going out to bid for a food service contract again. We went through the process with SFE. The state has actually really increased the amount that they could increase our management and administrative fees. We could have increased it up to 8.8%. We weren't comfortable with that, so we talked back and forth with SFE and settled at a 4.4. The contract does already include a 2%, which is what we did last year, even though we could have increased it up to 7% last year. They agreed with us that it should stay down at 2. This year, we all agreed that moving into a 4.4% increase, kind of being in the middle, was appropriate. So this contract does include a 4.4% increase, which we are comfortable with. It's again, for the next school year will be the last of the 4 annual contract renewals. The state has already approved all of this. They have to give us approval before I get to use this. Is kind of a formality, but everything is in place to move forward with this for next year if you so choose to approve this tonight.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the 1-year 2023-2024 contract renewal with Southwest Food Service Excellence as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
We next have the food service equipment bid approval.
I'll take this one too. We've been working with King's Cotton Bowl Gas for years, but most importantly on our upcoming summer bond projects. Along with that, we also have a food service excess fund balance. The state only allows us to carry 3 months worth of expenditures in our food service fund, and we're over that, as are many districts across the state because of the funding uniqueness of the last couple years. So we worked with King's Cotton Bowl Gas. They went out for bid for some kitchen equipment that we need in our buildings. This is not including the renovations that Jennifer talked about earlier at Fancher and at the middle school. What this is it includes a reach-in refrigerator for both Gannard and McGuire, a combi oven for pulling and bobbles, and an open display merchandiser for the high school. We went out for bid for this. We went through King's Cotton Bowl Gas because they have the capabilities to reach many companies that can bid on this. It came in at $99,998, which is just below what they anticipated the budget would be, so it's well within the budget. On top of this is not actually going to come out of bond funds, although it could. It is going to come out of the food service fund to help spend down the excess fund balance. So it's kind of a win-win on everybody's part. This was all discussed with our SFE partners also, and they're very excited to be getting this new program. So this was, I think, the bid was opened on the 5th, I believe, and we only had 1 bidder, but it is a company that we used before that we're very comfortable with, and again, it was under budget, so we're comfortable with this bid.
Is there a motion to approve the food service equipment bid?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the 10-year contract extension.
Now it's my turn. You have a memo that serves to notify you that the following teachers have successfully completed their 5-year probationary period with Mount Pleasant Public Schools. Since they have successfully completed this probationary period, they have obtained tenure status. Marilyn Dawson, Alicia Dorsey, Jordan Gearhart, Sarah Keebaugh, Angela Langley, Celeste Mills, Lynette Reed, Josh Stutzman, and Alex Wagner.
Does that needs a vote as well? All right, is there a motion to approve the tenure status? I can read all the names again. Of Meredith Dawson, Alicia Dorsey, Jordan Gerhard, Sarah Keebaugh, Andrea Langley, Celeste Mills, Lynette Wynn, Josh Stutzman, and Alex Wagner.
So moved with thanks for their service.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I think it's wonderful to see the tenure stuff, especially in the climate of turnover we've had. Next, we have the MPAA contract extension.
Yes, this memo is for our administrative group, and they are on a constant 2-year revolving contract. And so we would like to extend the following administrators to be extended through June of 2025. Kim Bishop, Stephanie Binder, Lisa Davis, Stephanie House, Joe Judge, Aaron King, Robin Lott, Kelly Maryhugh, Jeff Platty, Josh Rhodes, Katie Rinke, Marcy Stout, Mary Kay Vokes, Matt Walderzak, Darby Weaver, Kristen Willie, John Winkler, and Julie Wright.
Questions? Is there a motion to approve the extension of the administrators to be extended through June 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have similarly the central office administrators contracts extensions.
So you have a memo in your board packet this evening recommending the contract extension for Linda Boyd, Assistant Superintendent, and Ginger Faber, Chief Financial Officer. Both Linda and Ginger are on a 3-year rolling contract, so it's slightly different than the ones you just approved. And I'm asking that you extend their contracts through June 30th of 2026.
Any questions? All right, is there a motion to extend the contracts of Linda Boyd and Ginger Faber through the end of the 2026 fiscal year?
So moved. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Ginger.
Second.
I mentioned an error I just caught on that administrator one, because I don't want this person to have a heart attack. I believe Jason McIntyre was not on that list. And I think we all proofread it several times, but we want to make sure Jason McIntyre is on the list for. And Emily Blahnik. Yes.
Thanks for catching that.
So why don't we vote on central office, since we have a motion, and then we'll go back and just specifically do Jason and Emily. Good catch.
So I can't remember where we were with the motion. I think we. Yeah, sorry. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, both of you. So we can revisit the administrators. We're missing 2. So is there a motion to extend our administrators, so the 2 missing, through June 2025?
I move that we extend that contract for Jason McIntyre and Nicole to add to the list of administrators.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Right. We have, next is retirements.
Yes, and we would like to honor Michelle Keeler. Her retirement is set for the end of this year after 22 years of service to Mount Pleasant Public Schools. Kathy Nowicki, a 3rd grade teacher at Panther Elementary, 33 years of service to Mount Pleasant Public Schools. And Julie Wilson, a counselor at Mount Pleasant High School, after 25 years of service to Mount Pleasant Public Schools. And they will all finish the year and retire. Michelle has a unique retire date. She's going to work with us a little bit in the fall, but she was able to tell us nice and early so that we can post her position. And we will work with her in the fall as she'll help us train new teachers. We've got lots of intervention ideas and jobs like that at the middle school. So.
Is there a motion to accept the retirement?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Some of them have been here for a long time.
And I will just mention as well, at the high school, Jackie Beltnick, the board doesn't normally recognize formally the secretary retirements, but Jackie Beltnick is retiring coming up at the end of this month, and she's been with us for 15 years. So, exciting for Jackie. Next, we have resignations. We have Alexis Bauer Hansen, school social worker at the middle school, Amelia Gulo, speech pathologist for the district, and Marlo Kubinski, middle school math teacher, who have all shared with us their intent to resign at the end of this school year, and they're off to other adventures with their family and relocating.
Is there a motion to accept the resignation of Alexis Vorhansen, Amelia Gulo, and Mario Kubinski?
So moved with best wishes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, this passes.
And last but not least for me, we have a new hire, Sophie Perry, a special education teacher at Fancher Elementary. You have her resume.
Is there a motion to hire Sophie Perry as a special education teacher?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you and welcome to the district. That brings us to donations. We have a number of donations this month.
I will go through them and then we can approve or acknowledge them all at once. We have 6 different donations, or I'm sorry, 3 different donations this evening. From first from Natalie Dubé, donating $100 to Mary McGuire for camp. The Cozen Martial Arts Program is also donating $100 to the 5th grade camp program. Joel and Julia Eigenbrod, sorry Julia, donating $100 to the Mount Pleasant High School robotics program. The Optimist Club of Mount Pleasant donating $500 to the robotics program from Mount Pleasant High School. Joseph and Crystal Scott donating $40 to the Mount Pleasant High School robotics program. Green Tree Co-op donating $756 to Fancher Elementary. And all of those donations, we're asking that you acknowledge them this evening with much appreciation to our wonderful community.
Is there a motion to acknowledge all donations?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. And then we have 2 approvals. The first one is an overnight trip for the BPA Nationals.
Yeah, at our last board meeting, Mary Kay Volks was here to talk about the amazing things happening at GI Tech, and we actually even had a group from BPA do their presentation for us. We're now asking that you approve their trip to the BPA National Leadership Conference. It is April 25th through the 30th in Anaheim, California. It's a big trip. We do it every year. It's overnight and out of state, so it's sort of a double whammy that requires board approval. We're excited to send 21 students with a couple of chaperones out to compete, and we wish them well in their competition.
Is there a motion to approve the BPA overnight out-of-state national trip?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. And then we have the approval of the SEAB videos for the middle school.
Yes, the Sex Ed Advisory Board would like to have official board approval for the middle school sex ed videos that they've selected. Mr. Larson is a new health teacher at Mount Pleasant Middle School. He submitted these videos for our review. They're from Michigan Model for Health, which is a trusted source. The Sex Ed Advisory Board approved this a few months ago, but then we just recently went through the public hearings. So an email was sent out to all MPPS parents, allowing them to go into our, and it's still on our website, the very first link to parents, it's still there if anyone would like to continue to review the videos. But we did hold the 2 public hearings, and now we are ready for official board approval. The first video is called You, Your Body, and Puberty for 6th grade. The second one is Understanding HIV and AIDS. The third one is Human Reproduction and Childbirth for 7th graders, and Human Reproduction and Childbirth for 8th graders. So this is just, these are more modern content that meet all the requirements of the Sex Ed Advisory Board's guidelines for middle school.
Just for clarification, these would be viewed in health classes?
Correct.
Right, not outside?
As part of the curriculum.
And then would they be available for parents if they they maybe have someone moving new in the district, or if they didn't get a chance, would those be available for parents?
Yep, so when they begin to teach these units, they will be sending not really a permission slip, but the awareness letter that it's time to teach the puberty units in school. Sometimes parents may opt out, that is up to them, but all the materials are available for the parents to review.
And Lynn, just in case people watching have questions, if they wanted to opt out, what would the process be for them?
Usually it's right at the building level. The informational letter does have, a place for the parent to sign and indicate their wishes, and they can come right into the building or probably should make an appointment, but they can preview the videos. And in this case, I believe it's much easier nowadays just to email a video link.
Linda, you can correct me, but I believe that teachers who teach this material, one of the things they really wanted is some updated videos.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
content of the videos we have is great, but it feels a little fuzzy and outdated. So these were kind of a high priority. I don't think they're tremendously different in terms of content, are they?
No. They were very, very appropriate. The Sex Ed Advisory Board didn't have any concerns at all.
No, I mean, and I didn't. I watched them and I thought they were age appropriate and had good information.
Is there a motion to approve the use of the following 4 videos?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This passes. Thank you for the work of the Sex Ed Advisory Board. This brings us to our Board of Education discussion. This is an opportunity for any board members to discuss issues or concerns they may have.
I'd like to recognize our staff, especially the ones that are retiring. But there was a lot of examples today of staff who are doing great work in this district, and some who are finishing that great work in the district. And I wanted to acknowledge and thank them for everything they do for our kids and our families and our community.
Yeah, I mean, we heard about decades of commitment to the district, which is kind of great to hear.
That's great.
I also, just because we did hear from public comment again about an open campus at lunch, and we have had that conversation, and there were some great concerns, I think, with insurance, and that is also another reason why there are the activities that we saw a couple of, I think it was 2 months ago, of all of the games and things like that that are available at lunch now as well here at the high school.
Another thought along that line is the ability for them to reach to the SFE, to the kitchens, if there's specific meals. I think they were doing that through student council. They were sitting with them and talking about meals. So if there's food things that they may be of interest to them, that might be another route that they could do to try to get some of those items that they feel are what Mission can offer. Maybe they can something like that as an option here.
I know that, I don't want us to make false promises and not be able to deliver, but I remember discussions of food trucks. And so if we can't, because of insurance reasons, open up the campus, maybe do it the other way around, bringing the food to the campus in some ways. I know one of our assistant principals is discussing these options. And as the year gets, as hopefully we get into real spring for longer, having, putting these into plans or making it more concrete if we can afford it.
Yeah, we definitely are looking into those options so that we can expand what's being provided here. We do have to be a little bit careful because we do have a contract with SFE, but as long as we work with them and as long as it's more of a special occasion rather than a regular occurrence, normally we can work that out. But I think that, just hearing the student voice and hearing some of the things that they're interested in doing, those are really good conversations to have so we can make it more of what they want to see as well. I think we've already made some good improvements, but there's always room for more.
Thanks, Jennifer.
I just had a comment when we were talking here for parents and here today too of some of those extension, things that people want to do, accelerated learning. Jen, do you know, does the counseling office have like a resource page or does anything like that go out? If a family is wanting some of those options, but maybe they're just not sure what's available?
I don't know that they have any of those resources on the website. My guess is that they would have some information in the office. But I don't know that that's anything that's actually sent out to families. So I know, like, when we're talking about testing, we're talking about PSAT, they take that in 8th, 9th, 10th grade. So in my own home, I know that we receive lots of information from PSAT, quite frankly, selling addresses, right? So they're, where they're promoting some of those extension opportunities. But I could certainly, we could do a little bit more research to let you know for sure. I know there are options out there and available. It's just a matter of who gets the information and how to know who to share it with.
Well, and I'm sure there's some vetting too, you're saying here, all these options, but I know we have a lot of students that are, they're taking as many hard classes as they can or might be interested in some of those opportunities. So I just wondered, or is there a student group that would want to assemble, some options, just kind of a hub, in one place that if students want to do things during the summer, they could be a resource list.
Yeah, I think one simple thing that students often do during the summer is take advantage of courses at MID or at CMU because they're already involved in dual enrollment during the school year. So they're on their campuses, they're learning more about programs and options. But that would be, their own parents, their own family kind of initiative. But I know that is one way that some students do some academic extensions.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Well, I think maybe, one thing we can think about is how we make this as accessible as possible, right? So that it's not socioeconomics that limit access to some of these enrichment issues or enrichment programs, or access to knowledge, or to remove any barriers we can remove, at least minimize them. So yeah, as much information, anything local that is easily accessible.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly provide the information if there's a cost or an expense to participate in the program. I don't know that we have the funds or the resources to be able to do that, but oftentimes, if families contact the programs, that there are more options for them. But
Michigan Virtual is another option. More of that online.
yeah, certainly any student could take an Odyssey course, but I don't know that that's going to be like the academic extension that we're sort of talking about.
And it's hard to do it all, right? So right now we're centering on kind of catching that COVID gap. But I know a lot of families are asking for these enrichment options.
And so just making sure I'm understanding, for summer school it is like computer-based teaching with a teacher from the district that could answer questions, but
Right.
not classroom.
Right, so you could have 20 students in our summer school program working on 20 different classes. And at any time, there's 2 to 4 teachers that are there that can support them, but they maybe are not the teacher of that course that the student is taking. They're helping them with the process and getting through. But the online program through Odyssey is the highly qualified teacher that's providing the instruction.
Any other comments? Well, I think that adjourns our meeting. Thank you, everybody.